Welcome to another episode of the Reboot Chronicles, a no-holds-barred forum with global leaders, authors, entrepreneurs, and CEOs about how organizations stay focused on growth and innovation in unprecedented times. I'm your host, Dean Tobias, coming to you live from Reviv's North American headquarters in Chicago, and we would like to thank you for joining us from around the globe today. I'd like to welcome Tennille O'Shaughnessy, the CEO of Adore Beauty, Australia's #1 online beauty retailer, which offers a whopping 230 brands and 11,000 beauty care products on their site. That's a lot. It was founded 20 years ago by Kate Morris. We'll talk about her in a minute. And it is now I love this, the country's oldest pure play beauty retailer, or at least online beauty retailer. People will argue with that. And the cool news is they just went public on the Australian exchange in October. And it was the nation's largest IPO this year, but more cool than that is the largest female-led raise that's ever been done, or float, as we typically call it, ever in that history. So they raised a whopping 269 million Australian, which is roughly about 200 million bucks. So that's a lot of dough. Some fun things you could probably do to expand with that. Tennille, welcome. Really exciting time for you. Are you down in Melbourne now? Where are you?
Hi, Dean. Thank you very much for having me today. Yes, I'm based in Melbourne for this interview.
Nice. You live there? And
I do.
Company's headquartered there?
Our company is headquartered here, yes, in Melbourne. We were set up 20 years ago in Melbourne and have been here the whole time.
Nice. So I'm most interested in having done a couple IPOs myself. I just love the stories. I still tell the stories, whether or not people want to hear them. So we'd love to hear just how it went. I mean, just, this is you're fresh off the trail. You have a ton of cash. We'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, how was the experience as a CEO?
Look, I have to say the way we joke about it internally is it was one hell of a lockdown project. So in addition to being the largest IPO in Australia at the time and the largest led by a female CEO, founder and CFO, we also did it completely while being in lockdown here in Melbourne in stage 4 restrictions.
Wow.
So did it all over Zoom. So met all of the investors and fund managers all the way through to doing a virtual ringing of the bell at the stock exchange.
Wow. You missed out on a lot of fun stuff. What I don't miss in that story is the jetting around that we used to have to do on the road show. So literally be in London one night and take the Concorde to New York and have dinner that night in New York with some other bankers. So I think people are learning a lot of different things about how you can actually operate companies. And when she says they were in lockdown, Melbourne at the time was completely locked down. I hear you guys just opened up. So does that mean you can go outside now?
It does mean we can go outside now, but yes, I think Melbourne's had one of the strictest lockdowns globally and have come through the other side after 9 months working from home and being in stage 4 lockdown, which meant we were only allowed outside for certain reasons, limited exercise, curfews, all those fun things.
All right. And you guys, first you were bought out by private equity or partnered with private equity, is probably a better term, and then you went public. Do I have that timeline right?
Yeah, that's correct. So Quadrant bought in and partnered with us a little over a year ago and supported us in coming on the journey to be ready for IPO.
Right. Obviously, that's why they brought you in. So actually going through that IPO process at such a time, it's amazing. You raised, let's just call it 270 million Australian. Let's round up a little bit. When you look at the use of funds, what do you obviously you've disclosed a lot of this already, both on the road shows, probably on your investor side too. So what's the use of funds look like? How do you use that money to kind of take the company to the next level? What are you thinking about?
Yeah, so Dean, the fantastic thing about the company is that it's already profitable. And so a lot of the strategic growth initiatives that we're looking at can be self-funded through the business itself. So there was actually only a reasonably small primary capital raise. But in terms of how we're thinking about our strategic priorities and innovation, there's really a couple of things that we're focused on. Within the core business, we're really focused on continuing to innovate and transform the digital shopping experience, and that's really been the underpinning or the foundation of why the business was set up. But we're also really excited about initiatives we're looking at to expand into relevant adjacencies and categories, and also exploring a private label offering.
Yeah, a very popular thing to do. Many companies have done that. On the expansion front, I haven't looked at your demographics, but female versus male buyers, where are you now on the sites?
Yeah, so significantly have a strong female skew at the moment. So our core demographic would be females 20 to 40. But we actually did see some really interesting trends coming out of COVID behavior on the website. So the strongest growth that we saw on the website was actually females under 25 and females over 45. So, those that we would typically expect to be more the in-store shoppers were trying digital shopping for the first time and staying with us and really enjoying the experience. The other really interesting insight we saw was the strong transition of men into e-commerce and digital shopping in the beauty and personal care categories.
Yeah, and many of them tend to be lost, like me. So it sounds like you guide them. And so, what kinds of things do you want to add to, the next generation of the sites to make the journey more? For instance, personalization. We talk about that a lot in the show, especially with Revive being the sponsor. What are you looking at to make it more sticky, more engaging?
Yeah, sure. So as you mentioned, we're a 20-year digital pure play business. So as part of that, we've got one of Australia's largest proprietary beauty data sets. And we leverage this already to deliver a very personalized experience across all of our customer touch points. So as a digital business, we do things like tracking customer behavior and transactional data. So we look at things like, which products a customer is shown, which products they show intent signals on. We combine all of this into a proprietary BeautyWise algorithm we've developed, and we use that to personalize things like, the products a customer sees, the content we surface to them, recommendations we show them, as well as offers. So for every customer, the Adore experience is unique and personalized to them across all of our channels.
And not to get too geeky here with data, but what the heck? So I go on your site. It's the holiday season. Just to full disclosure, it's December here. We usually don't talk dates that much, but I'm on there shopping for my girlfriend and stuff, and or maybe my sisters too. But I doubt it. So does that give you a lot of false data? Because now you're gonna start marketing a lot of female products to me, or how do you figure out these events like that and
Yeah,
and and
yeah.
still develop a relationship with, in this case, a man?
Yeah, so we will take account of big, whether it be gift giving seasons or holiday seasons, but typically what we tend to do is use the behavioral data that we get from you across your whole journey with us. So one
Yeah.
of the fascinating things about our website is the importance of returning customers. So once a customer comes and shops with us, we've got really strong retention rates, and we can demonstrate that we've had cohorts that stay with us for 10, 12 years. So the depth of data that we would have on you would
Oh,
typically
wow.
be
Yeah.
across a very long-term relationship.
Yeah,
So
that's
that
different.
allows us to really, really call out deep insights across quite a deep history.
Right. Yeah. I know a lot of retailers struggle with that with the new entries. You've got a lot of very loyal, I'll call it a fan base. Do you guys have like a frequent flyer program? Do you
So
give
so that
points
that
and
is
things like that?
That is actually one of the things we're looking to launch next calendar year. So we don't have a structured loyalty program as such. We've
Hmm.
been focused on loyalty for many years. So when you shop with us, you get lots of value added benefits like, you get free samples with every order that you do, you get gifts with purchase. We actually even throw in an iconic Tim Tam biscuit, which is a very famous biscuit here in
Ooh,
Australia with
I
every
love
order.
those. Yes.
And
Yes.
so, but
Just
what we
even send
haven't,
me some. I love it.
I will, I'll get
I
your address.
noticed you are very friendly on the site because I went on last week and we had to postpone the episode maybe twice. The You were already offering up stuff. I hadn't even shopped yet, but it was in a very friendly, cordial way. It was very interesting, versus pop-ups in your face. It was just matter of fact. Like maybe it's because of the holidays, but I thought it was elegant anyway. Well done. You mentioned COVID though, so let's just get into it. How do you so Revive has a health and beauty wellness index. It's been up anywhere from 200% to 600% on different categories, whether people take selfies, whether they do, analysis, what types of products they buy, it's kind of old news now around the industry, shifting from cosmetics to skincare, but everyone's talking about the trends, but they really are focusing on, yeah, but this is what's going on right now in 2020. Love to get some insights on, okay, so we learned a lot in 2020. Let's maybe put a button in those or a pin in those. But what kind of long-term trends do you think we're going to see as your your big pile of data tells you?
Yeah, sure. So absolutely, I can talk to a lot of the behaviours that we saw on the site in terms of new categories spiking over COVID. But I agree with you, probably the more interesting thing is some of the more enduring trends that we've seen. And so what we've seen from our customers is they're really embracing several trends. Some of the big ones being, lines like clean beauty, ingestible beauty in terms of supplements and wellness is very strong, as well as a focus on premium quality ingredients and active ingredients like cosmeceuticals. So, most importantly, and I think you touched on this, we're seeing customers engage with beauty in a different way, and it's really beauty for self care. So the focus is on nourishing themselves and feeling good about themselves. And so you see the spike in skincare that you spoke about in masks, in serums. So what we we aim to do with our business model is to really provide a beauty democracy for our customers. So we give our customers the opportunity to engage with the beauty category and the various trends we see, but we allow them to engage in any way that's comfortable with them. So we get some customers on site that are, looking for a 12-step skincare process and want to engage and buy all the products, and that's absolutely fine. And then we get the customers that are looking to buy their one or two favorites, and that's fine too. So we
Yeah.
just aim to provide all of the information and all of the education to really empower them to choose the right products for them.
Yeah, whether they want to get in and get out and leave me alone, or actually have a. We're seeing a huge trend in education as well. So beauty democracy, I like that. Any other tidbits on that? Does it
Yeah,
basically,
look,
does
so
it basically mean come in and do whatever you want on our site because we've designed it that way?
so what it basically means is, and this is the foundations of how Kate thought about setting up the business, well back 20 years ago. The idea was to actually put the customer at the center of the shopping experience and empower the customer and give her the confidence to make the purchase decisions that are right for her. And so what that means is that we aim to provide a very authentic, real, unbiased view of products and provide all of the information, all of the education, all of the reviews so the customer feels empowered to make their own decisions. Now, that's quite disruptive when you take a look at some of the traditional department store shopping methods that are much more around um, presenting a very glossy, airbrushed, unattainable image and really putting a hard sell on the product. So that's how we think about our business model, and we view it as being quite disruptive.
Yeah, especially in beauty. It's like so glamour, 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 and everyone's like, I want that. Like, well, that's really airbrushed. Um, but you bring up a good point. Even on Amazon, they have tons of reviews, and if you bother to scroll down and read them, it's painful. But it sounds like you're bringing that up. The democratization part of it is, let's bring that up a little bit earlier in the conversation about what people think about these products. Oh, that's refreshing. How's the holiday season going for you? I'm guessing great, but
Yeah, so we had the holiday season for us being a digital business. It's more the big November sales events. So Click
Mhm.
Frenzy and Cyber Weekend were big events for us and performed strongly this year. I think that Christmas this year we've taken a focus and a tone that is much more aligned with the year that has been 2020, and so we've been encouraging our customers to essentially simplify their lives and focus on the small ways that they can bring joy to the people in their lives that matter. So we've taken a very, I guess, subdued, respectful approach to Christmas this year, just reflecting on 2020 being quite a challenging year for a lot of our customers.
Yeah, and in some cases it's seriously challenging, not something to make fun of. In other cases, people put these memes up where you're supposed to laugh at it. So does that mean I'm not supposed to buy my girlfriend makeup on your site? Is that what I just heard?
Absolutely not. No, no. It meant you're meant to thoughtfully choose something special for her in a small way.
Thoughtfully. There's the word. Oh, thank you. Let me write that down. All right. So you teased it on growth and innovation. I know that's a big part of your background. That's why you're there. You've done that well, at Seek and other companies. So let's just touch on. I usually ask a lot of hard hitting questions there. I kind of just want to let you run with it. How do you approach kind of? I guess let's take it in three buckets. You've already got a ton of brands, but how do you find new brands? How do you vet them? So as a retailer, that's a big part of the growth and innovation pipeline because you're finding everything from the indie brands to the big guys that are coming up with something new, maybe getting exclusive. So that's one bucket. But the other one, a lot of the viewers are very interested in, how do you approach open innovation and dancing with startups and partnering with other companies? And as a retailer, a lot of different avenues to go there. So you mentioned, private label products. That's probably one that's going to be huge for you.
Yeah, sure. So I'll start with the second question first around how we approach innovation. Um, and I'll go to the foundation of Adore Beauty. We've got a history of being founder-led and essentially bootstrapped for the first 14 years. So we've always approached innovation in a very sustainable and careful way. So what this means when we had limited resources is we're incredibly customer-led, and we've got that customer database that gives us a very early sign into some of the insights coming from our customers. But we're also very agile. And so we're able to use our customer data to identify, the big bets that we're going to focus on. But then our approach is one very much where we test and learn to build our confidence around the proposition before scaling. So we've currently got a couple of big bets we're currently focused on. Private label, you touched on that one. So our focus with private label is to really identify gaps in our current portfolio based on our customer data and insights, and then build independent standalone brands that will resonate and create value in and of themselves. And so how we've approached that particular priority, we're very open to whether or not, what does best in class look like for us. So we would consider build elements there, as well as collaborating and partnering with our brand partners. And so one of the projects we're working on there is actually a collaboration with one of our brands.
So when you look at the build, buy, borrow spectrum that we kind of beat to death on the program here, that whole borrowing thing, which is partnering, or acquisitions, good. But yeah, going to some of your best, you're working with some of the biggest brands on the planet, right? And that's what many retailers do. The third party, private label product is really it's the same company. And that's, why they like working with some of those retailers. But and do you think that's a less risky way to do it? Because it's, your wheelhouse is really, customer engagement and the data you guys are pros at moving product.
Yeah, look, we do definitely see, I guess, a complementary set of skills when we work with our brand partners in this space. What I would say is for us, that represents one of several experiments or pilots we're looking at in the private label. And it
Hmm.
goes back to what we're trying to do, which is really testing and learning. So to build our confidence, not only on the proposition, but also the operating model that will best support private label. So we've got a couple of stokes in the fire in terms of how we're thinking about that particular initiative.
I bet you do. Yeah, you've got kind of a fun playground here, it seems like.
We
And
do, yes.
as a CEO, how do you spend your time? Because what we just talked about is the fun stuff. I could see it absorbing all your time. Like, how do you and does Kate still kind of taking some of these things and running with them as the helpful founder, or how do you approach it?
Yeah, yeah. So Kate and James,
And
her
James too. Sorry. Yeah.
James, her co-founder, still work very closely in the business, and private label as an offer. We do like to refer to that as Kate's baby. It's something she's very passionate about. So I come from a
I think that was
background
a
of
movie, Kate's Baby. I'm not sure, but be careful
yeah.
of that one.
Yes, I come from a background that is so prior to working in general management in a CEO capacity, I come from a long history of strategy. So I really engage in the exciting and the new and what does the 3 to 5 year vision look like for the business. And that's something that Kate, James and I work very closely on. So we have conversations all the time around how we continue to innovate the customer experience.
Hmm.
And we've got several seed ideas that we're working on in the business that I can't talk to details about, but we're very excited about. But the focus is very much how we leverage technology and the digital experience to innovate and improve on our core customer experience.
Yeah, brilliant. So back to the kind of like the day-to-day business, how do you, I mean, those that don't follow this industry, this industry has just an explosion of investment in private equity and indie brands, as we call them. So small startups kind of getting into. We've had some, on the program in and around health, beauty, wellness, whether it's supplements or which we'll get into in a second. But yeah, how do you kind of vet all these? It's different. You used to be able to talk to the five big brands and you were done. I think that's one of the reasons you guys are so successful is you didn't do that.
No, that's right. So a significant part of what we're able to do, having 230 brands is we play a really big role in supporting up and coming cult brands in Australia and globally. And so we spend a lot of time upfront really understanding what those brands stand for. And the way we go about, I guess, the curating or vetting process is to be incredibly customer led. So a
Hmm.
lot of the brands that we pursue and look to get onto our platform will come from direct feedback and requests that have come from our customers. So we look to things like, the extent to which the products that they're offering are innovative and really resonate and meet a need or a gap in our market based on the feedback we're getting from customers.
And so is 230 a high number? It seemed like to me, but if you project forward, I guess you can count private label, just to have some fun here. Where does it go? 300, 350? I mean, is it even an important trend? Is this...
Yeah, if I'm honest, Dean, the number is not what is important to us. It's more being very customer-led, what our customers are telling us in terms of the
Right,
gaps in the market.
right.
So one of the really exciting things about premium beauty is there are so many exciting trends that come through, and there's so much innovation from the brands in terms of the products that are available. You've just got to take a look at the 5-year journey in skincare in terms of, what the routines look like 5 years ago compared to what we're doing now. So it's a really exciting space to be in because we continually see brands bringing us really innovative and exciting new products that we can bring to our customer base. Now, one capability that we've developed that really allow us to do lots of interesting things here is our capabilities around content. So increasingly, we think about ourselves as much more than just a shopping and e-commerce destination, but closer to a media company. So we've developed out a really comprehensive content capability. We've got, as a small example, we've got Australia's #1 fashion and beauty podcast. We've reached,
I saw that, yeah.
1.4 million downloads, which is incredible in a market our size. And we've actually got really strong cut through of that podcast in international markets too, where we're not even promoting it. We launched YouTube as an example back in March, and we're already up at almost 8 million views of our videos there, as well as being across TikTok and live streaming and all of those other content channels.
Mm-hmm.
So content is something that we do a lot of. We've got an in-house team and we create significant content. So think about things like podcasts, tutorials, blog posts, how-tos. And with this content, we're able to, from a customer perspective, entertain and educate our customers. But from a brand's perspective, we're really able to support them in launching and growing and building brand awareness of new products that come into our ecosystem. So we've created this fantastic ecosystem and closed loop where we can both generate the demand through the role of content and then satisfy that demand through our e-commerce platform.
Yeah, that's brilliant. There's a tremendous need for that, and also almost from a trusted intermediary kind of viewpoint. It's like you're not just because you're a retailer, you're not pushing any big agenda. So that's a big trend. You also mentioned clean, obviously overdone over the last few years. Clean's kind of like, anti-aging. I mean, some of these are going to come and go. And what do you see? Let's just take the one you also brought up, which was ingestibles. So I've seen certain brands, the big ones, not making a move there. They're like, we're not a supplement company, Dean. I'm like, yeah, I think the industries are crossing. It seems like a huge area for someone like you. So I know you don't want to give us all your secrets, but please do.
Yeah, no, it's definitely an area that we're seeing our customers really resonate with. We've got some brands that are performing exceptionally well in terms of that ingestible beauty. So think about things like prebiotics and probiotics, really geared towards beauty, skin, hair, nails, those kinds of things. So it's a category where we're seeing really strong growth.
Yeah. And how do you kind of approach as more of a retailer versus a long-term investor in product, how do you kind of approach do you wait for the trends to kind of be there before you make bets on them? Or are you at an inflection point now where that's changing too? Because many retailers we've talked to, they wait until it's like, it's gone through the TV cycle, it's gone through QV, it's people want this now, so great, we'll put it in the shelves.
Yeah, so we tend to be very customer led. So we will wait to hear from our customers on what they're looking for. I think that we have been And then what we do is we take the test and learn approach. So we will start small. So a really good example there is very recently we've moved into related adjacencies of wellness, of fragrance, and then of the sex category. And so the way we do that is we typically start small. So if I take fragrance as an example, we launched fragrance with a small offering, a small premium offering that we called our scent room offering. And we did some really innovative things with sampling there, where with every full-size purchase, we sent that with a sample so that our customers were able to try it in the online world and then keep the product if they liked it and returned it if they didn't. So we got really strong cut through with fragrance, and off that small start, that gave us the confidence to build out and scale up our offering there, which is what we're doing now.
Yeah, a lot of these indie brands don't have that capability. So, and some of those products will be those. So you've done a lot of things, just personal career-wise, either here or what have been some of your biggest challenges? These are always the hardest things to talk about, because some people think it's like, well, these are the failures I've had, but just, when you
Yeah.
think about challenges along the way, what have you faced? What have you learned?
Sure. So if I reflect, I might go to my previous experience at Seek. So about
Always safer.
so about 5 years ago, I was tapped on the shoulder and asked to step into a role looking after Seek's portfolio in the Americas, which is businesses that we had in Brazil and Mexico that required significant business model transformation and change. And so quite naively, I guess at the time I put my hand up and said I was up for that, but probably didn't understand the challenges of coming into a different country, a different time zone and culture where I didn't speak the local language, and coming in and really defining, not BAU, but transformational change for these businesses. So for
And
one of the business,
you were still living in Australia?
I was still living in Australia. I
Yeah.
think I,
Brazil and
I think
Mexico, a little different.
I think the first year I did 8 trips to Brazil, what it taught me and the learning for me was the importance of alignment around the strategy and outcome upfront. And so I spent a lot of time on the ground to get to that point, and then really of building trust and relationships with the local teams and supporting them to prioritize to drive impact. So I do smile and reflect that there were lots of learnings for me in terms of what it took to be successful globally, driving a transformational change agenda in businesses and countries that were quite different to what I'd been working in Australia.
Right. Those of you that don't see the cameras, we're both smiling and laughing. Yeah, I usually go back. I usually go back like 8 jobs and tell them all about those mistakes. But it's funny how you can keep making some of them because it's a different environment, different country. I always found the different countries and regions the most fascinating and challenging and rewarding. And that's always it's always good too. What kind of you have probably about 200 people at the company now?
That's right. We have around 200 people. Around half of those are based in our distribution centre, our warehouse, and then half are based in our head office.
And tell us about the culture. What's that like? Is there one culture? Some companies have, a few, depending on the locations. But is this something that the founders developed over time, and has it
Yeah.
shifted?
I feel like you're probably getting pretty close to, in my view, what the secret sauce is for Adore Beauty. So I was asked the question a lot during the listing process, why did I make the decision to join Adore Beauty? So to come
Yeah.
from a, very large company where I had a much broader remit to something that is smaller. And I reflected on that quite a lot. And obviously the Adore Beauty story is really interesting. It's one of those few examples of a true Australian success story, a very entrepreneurial startup. And you take a look at what has been achieved in the business, we refer to it as the 20-year overnight success. But what Kate and James have been able to do to get to
I
the
love
business
it.
to the point of IPO is incredible. But
Yep.
for me, the part that really resonated and the reason I joined the business was how Kate and James have achieved this. So Adore Beauty is very much a values-led business. We hold our values dear to us and they really drive our decision making. So what that means is you've got a culture of people that are incredibly aligned from a values perspective. And what that means is to put the customer at the absolute center of all our decision making and taking a very long-term view. So that's given us the freedom by living to those values to make decisions around, prioritizing solving our customers' problems as the first priority, and then everything else comes after that. So that allows innovation to happen very easily, and that's why you see a business that is so customer-led, so agile, able to be nimble and pivot quite quickly with opportunities and challenges that it's presented with.
Yeah, and so digital. You haven't wandered into, hey, let's open up a bunch of storefronts, but never say never. Back to the partnering discussion, I guess. Geez, Tennille, we could talk for another half hour. So I really want to thank you for joining the program. Any advice for some of the little indie brands out there that are just, struggling along? It's been tough during COVID for some of them. Others have done well, but any advice on getting closer to you guys, getting on your platform, that type of thing?
Yeah, so we are very we love indie brands. We love what they stand for and their closeness to the customers. So my
Hmm.
advice would be to spend time thinking through very carefully I guess the how you're positioning to customers, what the problem is that you're solving, and the gap that you're filling, and how you stand out. And what we can do at Adore is, I spoke about it a little bit, we can support customers in becoming aware of your brand and building that brand awareness and educating and providing information on your brands. But the best thing you can do is come to us with a really clear view of what you stand for, who your brand is, and what your product is, so that we can take that message to our customers.
Perfect. That's really great advice. Tennille O'Shaughnessy, CEO of Adore Beauty, thanks for joining us. Congratulations on the IPO, and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Dean. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, we'll see you soon. Cheers.
See you later.